Welcome back to Cinema Recaps. Today, I'll introduce you to a 2016 action-adventure sci-fi movie called The Fifth Wave. Warning, spoilers ahead, so stay tuned. In the opening scene, a girl is approaching a store with a rifle. Cassie enters the abandoned market and grabs everything she can find. Suddenly, she hears someone calling for help. Cassie goes to the back to check. Upon entering, a man points a gun at her. Both demand the other to lower their weapon. The man lowers his gun first and asks her to do the same. Cassie tells him to show his other hand, the one hidden under his jacket. The man says he's injured. As he moves his hand, Cassie sees something and thinks it might be a weapon. So she shoots. It turns out he was holding a cross. In a flashback, Cassie is attending a party with friends. She and her friend to talk about the person she likes. As Cassie leaves the party, she meets Ben, whom she has feelings for. They exchange a few short words. Cassie returns home, checks on her father, Oliver, and wishes her brother Sam good night. The next day, Cassie attends soccer practice, and her friend wants to show her something strange. Cassie is on her phone when the teacher interrupts her. Suddenly, Cassie notices everyone around her is looking at their phones due to something major happening. Later, Cassie's family watches the news about a mysterious UFO. Sam runs out of the house, and the whole family follows him, stunned to see the UFO in the sky above them. For the first 10 days, the aliens make no contact. The residents of Cassie's neighborhood began leaving the city. The next day at her school, suddenly, all devices stopped working. The kids in class hear a crash outside and see a car accident on the road in front of the school. A plane also falls from the sky, crashing near the school and destroying several cars. This is the result of an EMP triggered by the aliens. The first wave aims to cut off all power sources. Afterward, Cassie's father picks her up from school. Cassie looks at Ben and thinks it might be the last time she sees him. In a future scene, Cassie and Sam are getting water when the second wave hits. Like an earthquake, they run from the falling trees around them. A giant wave appears behind them. Cassie manages to pull Sam and herself to safety by climbing a nearby tree. They're lucky, unlike the coastal cities. Tsunamis have struck every coastal city on the islands, completely destroying them after the second wave. The third wave is a mutated avian flu sent by the aliens back to Earth, devastating the human population. Cassie arrives at the school, which has been converted into an auxiliary medical station. She sees her friend and goes over to say hello, but Cassie's mom appears, telling her friend is in quarantine. Her mom puts a mask on Cassie and tells her to go home. Later, Cassie and her family hold a funeral for her mom, who passed away from the flu after a period of time. Cassie is packing the essentials, preparing to leave. She ties Sam's shoelaces while her father packs the remaining necessary items. The three of them leave their home and begin the journey to a refugee camp, arriving before nightfall and being welcomed by one of the main managers of the camp. That night, Oliver pulls Cassie aside and shows her a gun, explaining how to use it and when it's needed. He tells her always to keep it with her and to hide it from others. Cassie takes it, saying she thought this place was safe, but Oliver tells her that nowhere is safe anymore. Then everyone hears a strange noise and sees a large cloud of dust approaching the camp. Suddenly, military tanks emerge from the dust, stopping at the camp center along with school buses. Colonel Vosh announces that he and his soldiers are from a military base and are here to help. The military officers separate the adults from the children. The adults are taken to the dining hall for a meeting, while the children board the buses. Oliver receives similar information as he and his children head toward the bus. Colonel Vosh stops an argument with an officer to explain the reason for this separation. He says the camp is in danger, and since there are limited transportation vehicles, the military decided to prioritize getting the children to safety first. Oliver decides to trust the colonel and puts Cassie and Sam on the bus. He tells Cassie to take care of her brother and reassures her that he will arrive at the base right after the children have boarded the bus. Sam realizes he forgot his teddy bear, and since Cassie can't convince him to leave without it, she decides to fetch the bear, telling Sam to stay on the bus. Cassie goes to the sleeping area, and as she finds the bear, hears the bus leaving. She runs after them but can't catch up. Meanwhile, Vosh informs the adults that the military believes the fourth wave has begun. The aliens have descended from their ship and are blending in with humans, capable of entering human bodies and controlling their actions. Everyone at the camp is panicked, and Vosh says that while they can detect aliens in children, they still can't identify them in adults. People begin asking about their children. The colonel tells them the kids will be kept at a separate facility because there's no way to distinguish between humans and aliens. Cassie appears outside the dining hall, but Oliver signals her not to enter and to hide. Suddenly, a man confronts the military, demanding to be released, and everyone starts firing. Cassie runs into the woods. A moment later, soldiers leave the dining hall with none of the civilians. Cassie returns, picks up Sam's teddy bear, enters the dining hall, and sees Oliver dead among the others. Before leaving, Cassie grabs a rifle and runs into the forest. Meanwhile, the children arrive at the military base. As they step off the bus, they are numbered and instructed to wait. The first number called is Ben's. He's taken inside the facility, where a military doctor examines him while Sergeant Resnick interrogates him. Ben says his family died in previous attacks. Resnick tells him he's lucky because he'll have a chance to avenge his family, like the other kids who will help in the fight against the aliens. She implants a chip in his neck and then asks how he would fight the aliens without knowing what they are. Resnick takes him to another room to illustrate how to detect them, showing him a boy covered in wires and handing him special glasses to see the alien. It's a parasite that invades and controls humans. There's no way to remove it, so the only way to destroy the parasite is to kill the host. Resnick gives him a switch to kill the boy. Ben hesitates, but eventually does. Resnick welcomes him to the fight. Meanwhile, Cassie is surviving alone. She hides in the woods, believing she can trust no one, with her main goal being to reach the base to find her brother. After a long journey, she runs out of water and sees the store where we first saw her in the opening scene. That night, Cassie sleeps with her brother's teddy bear. The next day, she arrives at a highway full of abandoned cars, finding dead bodies scattered between vehicles and realizing they were killed recently. Cassie spots an alien drone and is shot in the thigh. She temporarily hides under a truck, but remembers her brother and decides to shoot her way out. Unfortunately, she passes out. Meanwhile, Vosh prepares the kids for an upcoming battle against the aliens. He says they're planning a final assault, the fifth wave, and if the aliens succeed, humanity will be completely wiped out. The children are trained to be soldiers, learning how to fight, defend, and kill, with Vosh's voice constantly ringing, calling them humanity's last hope. Vosh asks if they can carry out the mission assigned, and they all affirm, except for Ben and Sam. Cassie wakes up in bed, her wound bandaged and connected to a device. Unexpectedly, someone comes up the stairs, and as he enters, Cassie pretends to be asleep. The next day, Cassie pulled the needle out of her arm, reached for her backpack to grab the gun, but collapsed due to her fresh wound. She hears the man approaching and quickly returns to bed. As he enters, he says he knows she's awake. He introduces himself as Evan. Cassie asks where she is, and Evan explains that he found her and brought her there. Cassie demands her gun back, but Evan says he didn't find a gun when he found her. Suddenly, Evan realizes Cassie may have torn her stitches. Upon confirming, he lifts her and takes her to the bathroom to disinfect and re-bandage her wound. While disinfecting the wound, Evan tells her she's been there for a week. Cassie asks where the base is, and he says he'll tell her later. He asks why she wants to reach the base, and Cassie tells him about Sam. Evan says he wants to help her because he couldn't save his own family, and he needs to feel more human. At the base, the kids play poker, getting used to their new roles. They discuss the new recruit joining their team, and when Resnick introduces her as Ringer, she shows her assigned bed. As she puts her stuff down, Ringer walks over to Ben, asking if he's the team leader. She asserts her dominance, mocking and intimidating the others. Ringer asks Ben if he knows how to play chess. Another child says they don't, but could play strip poker. She punches the boy in the throat, saying she won't tolerate any degrading or sexist comments. Teacup likes her attitude. Meanwhile, Cassie is mapping out her route to the base. When Evan goes outside, she sneaks into his room and finds a hidden compartment. Cassie finds her gun stashed there. She quickly packs her belongings and leaves the house. Cassie inadvertently triggers a trap, and Evan catches her, disarms her, and pulls her down, demanding silence. An alien spaceship flies overhead, and a tracker searches for them in the forest. Back at the house, Evan says he didn't mention the gun because he feared she might be an alien. Cassie is surprised, but realizes he has a point. Evan explains that the tracker was an alien, hunting humans with the drones. They discuss her plan to reach the base to save her brother, but Evan believes the boy might be dead. Cassie disagrees and insists on saving him. Evan follows her into the room and offers to accompany her, saying he'll take her there even if he can't promise what she'll find at the base. Meanwhile, Ben grows closer to Ringer. She says that, unlike him, she had to fend for herself before the aliens arrived, so she was ready for the apocalypse. Ringer was fine before they loaded her onto the bus. Ben corrects her, saying they were saved. but she says they were forced. They train against each other, and Ben says if he can take her down, she has to teach him and the team to shoot. She agrees and easily defeats him. But due to her overconfidence, he turns the tables and wins. Cassie and Evan are on their way to the base. She asks him to teach her how to disarm someone the way he disarmed her. Evan seems dismissive, but Cassie reminds him she isn't trying to be strong. She promised to save her brother. Cassie makes her position clear, so Evan agrees to teach her. First, he demonstrates on her, then lets her try a few times, and teaches her how to restrain an attacker. She thanks him, and they continue their journey to the base. At the base, Ringer teaches her team to shoot. She gives them a few tips and tells them to try again. Resnick appears, informing Ben that the colonel wants to see him. Ben follows her to the war room, where Vosh summons him and reports multiple simultaneous attacks in several cities. The fifth wave of the invasion has begun. He shows Ben a mobile, enhanced version of the alien detection goggles they previously used in medical scans, allowing them to identify aliens on the battlefield. Vosh says they need to test these goggles in the field and will deploy Ben's team as one of 4 units to do so. He wanted Ben to bring the entire team back intact the next day. In the forest, Cassie wakes up alone, finds Evan bathing in a river. He realizes she's watching him and she quickly runs away. When Evan returns to camp, he sees Cassie looking through his photos and asks about her best friend, recognizing Ben from her diary description. Cassie is embarrassed that he read her diary. Evan sees Sam's photo and says he can't wait to meet him. They pack up and leave camp, following railroad tracks until nightfall, then finding shelter. Meanwhile, Ben and Sam can't sleep and chat. The boy starts singing a song Cassie sang to him before everything happened. Ben joins in, annoying the team except for Ringer. Meanwhile, Evan helps Cassie rebandage her wound. She kisses him and thanks him. The next morning, Ben's team boards a helicopter to reach the testing site. Ringer asks Ben about Sam, and he says the boy had food poisoning. But in truth, Ben kept Sam in the restroom for safety at the base. Ben also leaves his pendant for Sam. The team arrives at the site, and an officer asks Ben about their mission. He says the mission is to infiltrate the enemy's lair and eliminate them. She reminds them the goggles will turn green when they see an alien, and once the mission is complete, they should signal for extraction. The helicopter drops them off and leaves. As they advance into enemy territory, Ben leads the young team forward. A team member spots 2 aliens ahead. Before they can attack, the enemy fires first. They're in a dangerous situation, taking cover in an alley. Ben tells them to run and take shelter in a bus, with him and Ringer being the last to enter. Ben quickly closes the door. They continue to be attacked, and one team member is shot. Ringer realizes they can't stay there forever, and decides to act as bait to distract the enemy, giving the team a chance to move to a friendly location. She tells everyone to prepare to run, then yells for them to rush in as the bus, rigged with explosives, detonates behind them. The team finds an abandoned shopping mall, and once they confirm it's safe, they settle in. Ringer joins, and immediately voices her suspicions that something is wrong with the aliens. And she wonders how they can cause earthquakes, but fear an army of children. Ringer decides to break free from military control, so she removes her tracking chip. Instantly, through the goggles, the team sees Ringer appearing as an alien and panics, unsure what to do until Ben realizes the issue. He removes his tracking chip, and everyone sees him also appear as an alien. Ben assures them he isn't an alien, and those who attacked them earlier weren't either. Ben reveals that Resnick and Vosh lied, that green signifies humans, and both the goggles and tracking chips are fake. The true experiment was on them, to see how they would react in this situation. When the others question him, Ben explains that the military is actually the aliens, manipulating the children to do the dirty work and eliminate the remaining human survivors. He tells them that they are not fighting against the fifth wave. They are the fifth wave. Teacup asks what they should do, and Ben tells everyone to remove their chips. Ben decides to be the only one to return to the base to save Sam. He tells Ringer to shoot him to make it look believable. Meanwhile, the hunters locate Evan and Cassie. Evan steps out of the truck, and one of them says he's outside his territory, then shoots him. Cassie wakes up to see Evan fighting 2 men, and he urges her to run. Before she does, she takes her gun and goes after Evan. But something feels strange, and she finds Evan lying next to the truck. One of the 2 men chases her, and she temporarily escapes until he catches her outside the truck. Cassie fires, but Evan arrives to save her, fighting the attacker with surprising strength and ultimately killing him. Cassie realizes something is wrong, so she points her gun at Evan. Evan confesses that he's both human and alien, a dormant agent created long before the invasion began. When the mothership reached orbit, his alien side was activated. Cassie asks if he killed his own family, but Evan replies they died from the plague. He says, unlike his kind who don't believe in love, he fell in love with her at first sight, which allowed him to reclaim his humanity. Previously, Evan had been watching Cassie, and when another hunter shot her, he killed him to save her. Now he believes in love because of her. Cassie is about to shoot him, but Evan tells her the truth about the military. She leaves, and Evan warns her not to carry weapons into the base as they'll kill her. Cassie tells him if he follows her, she'll kill him. Meanwhile, Ben returns to the base by helicopter. Cassie pretends to faint in front of a school bus and is brought inside. Her number is called, and she undergoes a similar examination by Resnick. When Resnick shows her the alien parasite, Cassie smashes her over the head. They struggle for a while, but Cassie kills Resnick and removes her tracking chip. She takes Resnick's clothes and wanders the base to find her brother. Ben is in a meeting with Colonel Vosh, but Vosh knows what Ben is up to and questions him. Ben responds that he knows who they are and realizes they're planning to kill him. Vosh argues that humans haven't done anything to deserve this except occupy the space they need. Then he confronts Ben with a darker truth about humanity, that humans have done the same to others for centuries. Suddenly, a soldier enters to report that Resnick and 3 guards at the west gate have been killed. An explosion echoes throughout the base, and Vosh orders the deployment of the child soldiers to find the attacker. He fights back himself, killing his captor and removing his chip. Meanwhile, Cassie is running through the corridors as another explosion occurs. Vosh orders drones to find the attacker. Cassie encounters Ben and quickly disarms him. They immediately recognize each other, and Cassie tells him she's looking for Sam. Ben explains that the military is actually the aliens, and that they're preparing to send her brother to the battlefield. He says they need to get there fast, or she'll never see Sam again. Cassie believes him, and together they search for Sam. 2 soldiers try to stop them, but Evan appears and takes them down. Evan tells them he's rigged the base with explosives and will destroy it completely once the last plane carrying the children departs. He apologizes for lying to Cassie and says he chose his humanity because of her. Then all 3 rush to find Sam before Evan detonates the base. They reach the transportation area and see the children gathering. The 2 of them weave through the lines searching for Sam. Finally, Cassie spots Sam and rushes over. Ben leads them to an escape route, and as they reunite, Cassie hands Sam his teddy bear. Ben removes his chip, and the group starts running. Meanwhile, the base is evacuating, and Vosh sees Ben and the others escaping. He boards a helicopter to pursue them, but can't catch them before the base explodes. Suddenly, Ringer and Ben's team appear in a military vehicle and rescue them. Cassie watches the base blow up, thinking of Evan. Later, the group stops to rest and eat. Ben talks to Cassie, asking her what they should do next. She says they need to rescue the other children, though she's still unsure how. Ben assures her they'll figure it out later. The next day, they join the remaining team members, holding on to hope for a brighter tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.